Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Williamson County Board of Commissioners meeting, regular meeting. It's Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. It's 9 a.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Matheson.
Present.
Jim Marlowe.
Present.
Jim Riser.
Present. Good morning. This meeting is basically a two-part meeting. Our regular agenda will start after we do health insurance broker interviews. Gentlemen, we have 15 minutes. I need to kind of keep you guys close on that. That's why I was wondering about that. So I've got a timer. So Snedeker Insurance will be our first presentation today. You guys ready?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. We haven't done the pledge and the prayer. You want to do that now, or would you guys like to wait until 10? Sure. Let's do it right now. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings you provide to us every day, even the hidden ones. On a gloomy day, remember that the gloom brought the rain that helped the crops. We always ask that you be with everyone in this room, provide the strength, humility to do what's right. Always be with our first responders, and looking over our servicemen and men around the world, keeping us safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, Alex, you have the floor.
I feel really honored that you folks picked us to come back in front of you. I know we've been here a few times. You know the team, we've introduced them before, so I can skip through that. I appreciate you letting us have a few minutes. In the prior times that we came, we primarily went over the Hope Trust, which is an option. I know for the RFQ, it was a little bit more outlined of what are all the services you can do, or is there any other services? Please bring us all so that we can, at least we know what you have the capability of doing or what you have expertise in. So there are some things that our firm does and has done for decades that we probably haven't went over extensively. So I'd like to spend a few minutes at least offering those up. So like I would say most insurance, if not all insurance, brokers, agents, consultants that handle benefits, we too have contracts with what you call the fully insured carriers, you know, the Blue Cross, Health Alliance, United Healthcare. We do have some of those. Our own firm is insured with the Blue Cross Blue Shield policy. We didn't dive into a lot of that because, again, for our county and city and public entity clients, we have through the years found that that's not always been the best fit. But as I think I've said in prior meetings, we are the hired help. We do whatever you tell us to do. If that's something you want to look at, we can certainly provide it. Going a step further, where we kind of started to do things differently in the 80s was doing what's called a partially self-funded health plan. That, of course, has gotten a lot of publicity in the last decade or so with the Affordable Care Act escalating costs. We too can do that. In our references, we put a couple of those groups in. I wanted to be very transparent and not just put just Hope Trust. I call them all. And if you want more, we're happy to give you more. I really want you to see that we're a family of clients. Tim and Jim, you've been to our client conference. I think you've seen that. We really see it as a family of government bodies, especially county and city governments in Illinois. So again, we can do the fully insured. If that's something you want to look at, we're happy to provide it. Same with the partially self-funded health plan, where what I would consider you have your own little insurance company. There are benefits of that. You get to dictate a lot of things and with your staff, your employees, your unions, et cetera. And they do work well. So on that list, there were a few references that John Krug of Woodford has been with the county and a board member for decades, and can give you the good, bad, and ugly of their experience with it. Same with Jody at Perry, even a closer geographic county. They too have had a partially self-funded health plan for decades. And so they can share that, and we can provide more. Many of the groups in the trust, and I think I went over that, they ported from a partially self-funded health plan. So they needed and wanted all the benefits of that, but they loved the efficiency of a trust, blending in with a larger group, getting a monthly bill like a Blue Cross. It was a little bit of a hybrid, if that makes sense. So with the RFQ, I really want you to know that you have that. The other component of it is, and then I want to please ask any questions you may have. I think we spent quite a bit of time highlighting some of the folks that the members and yourself would be dealing with on a daily basis through our growth and who we specialize in. And again, I consider it a family. We're able to probably offer benefits and resources that I know of no one else. I don't care if they have 1,000 employees up in Chicago. I don't know anybody that has the level of clinical care that our firm brings. And it's not that we're huge, it's because of how we're set up, and it works really well. So I really wanted to highlight that, whether it be your in-house labor attorney that can get you through your myriad of regulations, Affordable Care Act, legislation. There's always news to that to just keep the folks in our government bodies informed, up to date. There are compliance issues, as you very well know. You have reports you have to generate each year. We assist with that. We have it in-house. I've sat in meetings with other agents with, we have attorneys too. They don't. They work out of their house. They don't even have any staff. So, I want you to know when we say we have staff, they are employed by Snedekers. This is not a TPA that has, 200 employees in Chicago or St. Louis or Kansas City. No, this is our staff. We didn't list one person as outside of our staff. Are there others to help the members? Certainly. Every vendor we have has customer service folks. But I think that's a little deceiving. That's like saying, well, when we go Blue Cross, they have 50,000 employees, so I think you're going to be in good shape. I mean, if you ever call Blue Cross or Health Alliance, you may have had good, you may have had bad customer service. I don't think that's reflected. So when you call us, you get a human person, and we wanted to highlight some of those resources. So not only do we have customer service, not only do we have our clinical team, not only do we have our in-house legal, but as you've seen in every meeting, I believe that we've been here, is our field team. And I'm proud of that. I don't want you to think that we're a sub office and, you're going to see us one meeting and then you'll never see me again. I think you could call any one of my clients. Jake and I's drive down. I think we spoke to 2, if not 3 public officials on our way down to check in on various things. They do hear from us. And I ask that, call and make sure that I'm not telling you fibs here. But we stay very close with our clients, but I want you to know that the team you've seen on a regular basis will be the team that you and the staff can consecutively see, that we truly have boots on ground, if that makes sense. Because we see that's the value of what we brought. We brought you non-traditional plans that we think there's a lot of benefits to, offer a plethora of groups, but you have to be able to educate the staff. And that's not always easy. You got to be there. Put in the time. Meet with the highway, maybe at 7 a.m. before they go out on the road. Those are the things we do. Meet with the sheriff's department at 6 a.m., 9 p.m., midnight, shift change. We've done it all. I would encourage you to ask others, do you do things like that? Because we see the value in it. More than that, I think we can show the proof that there is success, financially and statistically. This isn't just our opinion on this. These are dollars and cents, and we can produce, and as I mentioned in other meetings, we can show you a decade or more of success that our public entities have had. Not cherry pick, Perry County's just had a great run. I want to take all my accounts and show you what they've done, and I think we've done that, and we can do more. Challenge others. I don't think they can say the same. But what we see is a lot of movement. We go with one carrier for a year or 2, big increase to jump to the other. As I think I stated in my first meeting, that is not how we do business, nor do we want to do business like that. We think that's only a good way to get the taxpayers, the entity, and its employees hurt on a myriad of different ways. And so we do things a little differently. I agree, but I think it works. Our niche business is public entities, especially counties in the state of Illinois. So I hope we highlighted that, not only in the meetings that we've been here before, but in the RFQ. But if you have any questions, we're here to help. And whether it's this morning or even in future days or weeks ahead, we hope we get the opportunity to work with you folks and your members.
Thank you, Alex. And you answered a couple of questions that I had. The first one was, what other companies do you write for? Have the authority to write with? You said Blue Cross Blue Shield and
United Healthcare
United Healthcare.
for you, and I would say those are your predominant here. You want to make sure your members can go to providers that are in network, et cetera.
Right. You answered at least I believe you answered the customer service, who will receive our employees' phone calls, will be a quick response, who answers the phone, where are they at return, and how many people in the office will handle our accounts. I think you answered that pretty good too. And then I had one question we hadn't talked about, and that was if we make the move right now, say we decide to make the move within the next month, say July would be our first date, how would you handle the rates from July? Because we have from July to January, I think you told us before, your new year starts January 1st.
Correct.
What could we expect to see? How would that transition happen?
Well, with the trust, and so that it kind of depends on who you go with. So if we go to Blue Cross, they'll probably give you a 12-month. I'm not
No
used
matter
to
what
giving
we
it
do.
anymore. So full insured. With a partially self-funded plan, you basically set your own rates because you incur the expenses and you set rates that basically offset that. And then, most of our groups try to put in a 5 to 15% buffer, so they have what we call your reserve fund, right? So they set their own rates. There are laws for IMRF and COBRA that actually give you an algorithm of what for retirees, COBRA, what you have to charge them. So those rates are done annually, and there is methodology to that. So that's for partially self-funded. For the trust, we still have to do the COBRA and IMRF, and we hire actuaries to do those for you on your behalf. Every year, those do have to get assessed by law. But for the actual group rates that we brought, it would be an 18-month because, if you wanted, we've never had a group that came to the trust that wanted any less than 12-month guarantee.
Yeah.
So for us to get you to our, renewal, we have to do a multi-year, we call it a multi-month. So sometimes it's 15 months to get them to the next year. In your case, it would be an 18-month rate guarantee for that.
I'm sorry, Alex, we got about a little over 4 minutes left. Jim,
Sure.
you got questions?
No, I think
I do have a couple. I will say I have standard questions I wanted to ask everyone, but you've been in front of the board a couple of times and taken care of the first question. One I'm interested in is how fast could you make the switch for us? What's a reasonable time?
A reasonable time would be 45 to 60 days to do it methodically. And I argue that no matter what you go to, because I like it done smoothly, I want employees informed. So the more time you have, the more we can educate the staff and get them on the plan that works best for them, which drives savings to the employee, to the group. We went over that. I'd say 45 to 60 done right. The reality of it is, we locked in a group one time a week before they renewed with a handshake. They have coverage. I can buy them the coverage, but are they going to have the ID cards and all the material? Well, no, there's no time for that. They do have coverage. We issued just printout cards. We can do that like that. So no one was left in the lurch. But do I prefer that? No. It's messy, and people feel more comfortable when that ID card is in their wallet. God forbid they have to go to a prompt care, ER, get their drugs, renewed, something like that. But I would say 45 to 60 days is certainly, but we would need a lot of work. We would ask that we could come in and start really working with staff pretty quickly.
And if you total all of your clients and then take all of the folks under them, how many people are being insured through you?
It would be over 5,000 lives for sure in the state of Oklahoma. So, yeah.
That's a good question.
And that's a moving target, and that is at current date that would be there, and that's everybody.
And just to reiterate what you said about as far as service, your folks would be here on the ground. If we chose SRN, they would be here on the ground to help our folks choose the best possible part of this health insurance.
And Tim, if I could address that, I think that's where you've seen us here. We haven't said a lot, but what we would like to do, if you were to choose us, is to figure out the best way, working with you, to meet with all of your county employees, whether it's setting up office hours in this room, whether it's going department to department. As Alex said, whether it's being at the highway department at 7:30 in the morning, you tell us what works best for the group. But we would feel most comfortable. Can we do this in a hurry? Yes. We would feel most comfortable getting in front of everyone on their schedule and having a face-to-face, eye-to-eye conversation, not only in a group, but after the short meeting ends, let's go talk to the employee that has personal concerns over in the corner by themselves.
Yeah.
That's how we would like to do it.
The one-on-one. But because this is, when we make the change, whoever we choose, it's going to be different. There's going to need to be a lot of questions answered.
There's a lot of information to impart, and we would prefer to do that in a one-on-one basis as best we can.
Absolutely.
I do have one question.
We've got about 1 minute left.
We have if we were to go with full coverage plan, the in-network would be standard with whatever, like Blue Cross or Health, go with coverage current, correct?
Yeah, we would need to match labor agreements. We'd have to find a plan, and even if the plan didn't exactly have it, and you may struggle to find a plan that does, you'll have to build an HRA. We've kind of discussed that, That's not uncommon, because you will have to keep your labor agreements intact, until they're renegotiated or whatever. So, but yeah, one way or another, we would do that. We'd have to work with you to find out what works best. So.
Perfect. Well, we've got about 10 seconds left. Anything else?
I think I can get an answer.
Well, Alex, I'd like to thank you and your team. I know this has been a long process. We appreciate your
I have
time.
one last question. Do you want us or any one of us to stay for, I know not other sessions, but later in the meeting, you tell us, do you want us to stick around for later in the meeting, or?
I don't think it's necessary.
I just want to make sure in case you do.
Yeah. We've consumed enough of your time today. We appreciate it.
You have our contact information? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Be safe, everybody.
Steady, did you check on Jonathan?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nicole Johnson. Nice to meet you. Jim. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nicole, nice to meet you. Jim.
Bright enough
Nice to meet you.
for you to take these plans.
Linda, nice to meet you.
Then, Casey.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Where would you prefer that we go?
That's perfect, right there.
Front and center.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Would you like a copy as well? I guess that's.
We like our visuals.
That's important.
Yeah, we'll get started on the side that says Williamson County of Town.
Okay. We have 15 minutes. I think that's what you guys can tell.
Perfect.
So we have 15 minutes. We have a pretty tight schedule. And our clock up there is the batteries are dead. So
Okay.
what I'm doing is I'll set a 15-minute timer.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds great.
And if you guys are ready, have the floor.
All right. Well, we summarized everything we put in our response into 2 pages, so we did our best to sort of sum up and develop that response. Before we sort of dive in here, it's very and wanted us to cover it because we don't want to spend too much time on stuff that might not be relevant at this point.
I do.
Okay.
It's been covered before. So from what I've gathered from the group we've listened to at this point, we have to provide, the county has to provide a significantly similar plan to all the employees. And if all of the employees stayed with that, no matter which broker we would pick, the savings would be limited. Is that a fair assessment as you see it?
I'll dive through how we build out a plan because in our exploratory process, it looks like all of your folks are going to CMS for insurance today. Well, And I'll walk through, we have a new approach for you from a brokerage perspective. So what we do from a group health plan. So we'll definitely make sure that's a huge part of our presentation. So we'll absolutely cover every step of that.
Yeah, because the follow-up to that is that it looks like the path for savings for the county is to come up with an alternative plan, but for people to sign up for that, the employee needs an incentive to go through it. And then there has to be a savings on the back end for the county, so then I want to know what your strategy is to get to that. So if that is
Yes,
covered in your talk.
absolutely.
right.
Good. Okay.
Well, I guess we can go. There we go. I guess we can go forward from there. Introduce myself. My name is Casey Camerly, benefits consultant working on public entity practice at Gallagher. And my role with the county through Gallagher, we chosen to be the broker, be the daily contact, along with Cindy Malaberry, who is not on here, but her face is right there. Both daily contacts to assist the county in any needs of claims, eligibility, and essentially handholding. Because we understand the county does not have a broker at this point in time. So this is a fully new role, and we want to ensure that it is done correctly. So we have a couple of individuals listed on the account right now. Nicole, Cindy himself, and an additional list of resources on the bottom half of that to really envelop the fact that we do want to make sure this is done correctly. But Nicole, I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Nicole Johnson. I am an area vice president within Gallagher's public entity and nonprofit practice. I've been with Gallagher for going on 8 years now. And my entire time has been in public entity, nonprofit, and understanding the nuances of this space and your employees. My role is going to be the lead consultant, so all things strategy. So everything from building the plans to budgeting to how are we going to find savings to implementing the plan, be the whole strategically for that process.
And through conversations with Julie in the HR department, she made it seem like there was some need for a plan. She said there was some need for some sort of change versus what the county is working for right now. So that's sort of the strategy that we have proposed on the back half of this page. So as we walk through everything, please don't stop us and ask questions, because we realize that this is not how the county is currently operating. So ensuring that we're all on the same page is paramount. So we'll start on a high level about Gallagher, then we can kind of dive into our standard scope of services, how we propose to work with the county on a daily and annual basis. So first and foremost, Gallagher is a family-run company, and it's very unique to be that in that space, especially now that we are either the third largest broker in the world. As it stands, now our public sector expertise is vast, and it's very unique in the broker space that we are actually the only broker that is listed on Ethisphere's most ethical companies. So just sort of a backbone of who we really are and how we operate. It's very unique in the broker space, we're the only broker that has that value. Now, as far as local presence and global reach goes, as I mentioned, we are the third largest broker. That gives us a lot of size and a lot of experience in the industry. We're really able to help, local government entities expect those savings that you're looking to see. We're really able to sort of help you understand the market in a better and deeper way than oftentimes other individuals. Now, size also gives us that experience in the industry, like I mentioned. Anything that you're looking to do, we've more than likely seen before. We have 32,000 different individuals on our side. If I don't know something, Nicole doesn't know something, you can ask anyone. So we have a very deep bench of different individuals and presence in all different places in the United States. As far as public sector goes, both Nicole and I mentioned we sit on the public sector team. Now we sit up in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. That's our global headquarters. I know Rolling Meadows is the closest, but that's where our public sector team sits, and we really wanted to ensure that we were giving Williamson County the right people for the case. So that's why the two of us ventured down here to meet with you all this morning. Outside of that, we really do focus heavily in the public sector space within Illinois. We have over 150 different entities in the local government space alone in Illinois. So we have a very deep knowledge of the Illinois marketplace and what local government looks like from a 10,000-foot perspective as well on an annual basis. Now in the middle of this page, you'll see sort of our standard scope of services. Something unique to Gallagher is that we are a broker as well as a consultant. So we're negotiating on behalf of the county for every single renewal, going to bat for you when you need us to go to bat, and we're also consulting on that. So we're meeting with you as frequently of a cadence as you would prefer to be met with. And we'll really just develop that through the relationship when we sort of build it up. First piece of the pie, the ongoing client support. Where, like I said, I'm here to help with any sort of claims or eligibility issues, any escalated claims, anything that you are going through on an annual basis where you feel like you need an extra hand. That's what we're here for. Renewals and marketing, obviously, going to bat for you with the insurance carriers, ensuring that the county receives the lowest renewal possible. Obviously, the biggest goal and biggest goal here. Financial monitoring, understanding the budget of the county, understanding what we're looking at on an annual basis to ensure that our dollars going the furthest in the market can. We have experience working with local government entities that are fully insured, self-funded, partially self-funded. All the landscape is very much so our bread and butter. So as it comes to financial monitoring, if it is decided that the city decides to go on a self-funded basis, looking for a group plan, we can give you many case studies where we've helped that out as well with different entities. Vendor management, we understand that not every vendor relationship is going to work out. So we're the first to go to bat for you, like I said, as it comes to creating an RFP for a new vendor, understanding that our position in the market really leverages great relationships with different vendors on all different lines of coverage. Compliance support, compliance is a nightmare. Compliance flat out is a nightmare. Understanding that when you join the group market, there's going to be a lot of hoops you have to jump through from a compliance standpoint. We want to make sure that the county remains compliant, because if you don't, that opens up much liability for the county as an entity, and we can't have the county exposed to any sort of that risk. And lastly, the communications and well-being piece. If you don't communicate in an employee benefits plan, it's going to be a hot disaster for your on the administrative side. Ensuring that all of this new design is communicated effectively to your staff and your employees is paramount. Really keeping that top of mind as we look to change things from that CMS to a more traditional group plan model is top of mind. So with all that being said, we kind of flip it over to the backside, talk about sort of how we're going to put this plan to paper and how we're going to put it on a calendar and look forward.
Yeah, so the scope, the wheel that Casey walked through, that's our core scope of services, but we understand that there's a road to even getting there. So in conversations that we've had to understand your program today, going to CMS and not having a broker isn't typically what we usually work with, because usually we're in the broker side working on a group sponsored health plan. So what we're proposing to do is serve as your broker. We're your middleman, like Casey said, go to bat for you. We're your consultant, and we're that person in between the county and your carriers. But we need to figure out who those carriers are. So with CMS, I think you have 3 carriers that you can choose from today. So we'll do a little bit of a different approach. So that's what we outlined here. And I'm going to walk through each of these steps to how we would get you up and running with a group plan and kind of new approach that most employers do. The timeline you can see is pretty flexible. Like I have 1 to 2 months listed for some things. 2 months is on the higher end if, in public sector, some counties move a little bit slower. So we want to be, take decisions into account, but if you're ready to hit the ground running, so are we. I mean, this timeline can be set up tomorrow. We're ready. First, discovery and analysis. I think it's super, super important for Gallagher to understand who the decision makers are, what are your goals, what are your priorities, and for us to understand your employee population. What are the demographics? What ages are we seeing? How many families? What are the claims? What's the utilization? We have an analysis tool to help us understand the population. And once I see that, then it helps us better understand how the group's going to be graded. The point of a broker is basically to help you reach your goals and help employees get the plans that they need. So we need to fully just be a extension of the county to make sure that we're doing the right things in your best interest. So the discovery and analysis is super important, understanding what employees want. I have 1 to 2 months just to know, from if we get the green light that Gallagher is hired, hopefully, to when those conversations happen. I'm just going to be flexible with that. And then the big piece, go to market. So we know all of the carriers in this landscape. So what we would do is first meet with you and discuss what coverages do you have today? What coverages do you need to take to market? So thinking of the basics, medical, dental, vision, life, disability. That's the core that as an employer, we definitely want to take a look at. So we'll confirm what coverages, and then we'll confirm how those are funded. Some are fully employer funded, some are employer and employee contribution. Others can be fully funded by an employee. So we wanted to understand from a budget standpoint, what responsibility do we want to fall on the employee? And then that will help us go to market. We will give you a list of every single carrier in this space and the contacts so that you know who we're going to. And we would release the RFP on your behalf. So as soon as we open the RFP, the floodgates open. We're happy to accept all of those questions, take those phone calls, explain the employee population, explain what you're looking for. We also have individual or counties that prefer that questions go to them. We're very flexible in what level of support you need. And we will collect all of those responses. So I think what's really important is we'll collect all those responses. We can absolutely send them over to you. But making that apples to apples comparison. I mean, if we're looking at 300 pages of information, that means nothing until I have an analysis. So for example, for medical coverage, we'll have columns for every single carrier and you'll break down the plan design. So if I go to the ER, here's my out-of-pocket, here's my deductible, comparing the plan design and then the price. So you can see on an apples to apples basis what we're looking at. What we'll apply to that is, from Gallagher's perspective, is this a competitive plan design? Is it matching what employees are able to get today on CMS? How's the price compared to CMS? And we'll do that full analysis compared to today to understand if this is competitive or not. And in the RFP, we will write it specifically so that we're asking for the right plan design, we're asking for the right pricing, and that we know we're getting the best plans. Because my main priority is, yes, it's budget, but also I want to make sure employees have access to care at an affordable price. Healthcare can be kind of nuts today, so it's really important to take care of our folks. One big thing is the levers that Gallagher has. Being the third largest broker, when they see our names come in their inbox, they definitely pay attention. And there's lots of levers that we come from that, from nationally, the amount of premium that we write. We're on Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois' national board, their governing board, so that we have a say in how things are written. It's been a tough year for renewals, so we're in those meetings saying, hey, Blue Cross, what's going on, and we can have those open dialogues. From an implementation standpoint, like I said, we'll meet with you, we'll do that apples to apples comparison, we'll tell you what we're seeing, give you recommendations, but it's really your decision of who we move forward with. Once you select the carrier, we can always go back, do best final negotiations, but then it's on us to implement. We want to take the burden off of you, so we will do all the contract reviews, all the negotiations, making sure everything's getting set up, because we need to make sure that what is being implemented is what was promised. It doesn't always match up. So that's what we're here doing, the contract review and making sure that we're getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and we'll help with that entire implementation process. As Casey mentioned, once you go into the group healthcare space, the floodgates are going to open from a state and federal landscape of communications that you have to send to employees, things that you have to disclose, things that we have to abide by. And that's why our compliance team assigned to this focuses on the public entity space, because there's even differences between if you're ERISA or non-ERISA. So we'll help you sleep better at night, making sure that everything's taken care of. And then one key thing with the implementation is we also understand that with CMS, you need to give them a 60 days notice of when you're going to be making a change or pulling out of that and entering a group plan. So we'll intertwine all of these decisions. When is it the right time to notify them when we know what we're doing moving forward? Within all of this, budgeting and forecasting is going to be really important. So we have a financial benefit consulting team that is going to be behind the scenes that can forecast everything. So from a budget standpoint, what are you trying to hit? What are these plans going to cost? What costs do we want to ship to employees? And should we be fully insured, self-funded, level funded? I mean, you name it, we can predict everything. We have awesome modelers. We'll have the financial benefit consultants come and meet with you directly and give you all those models, because I think it's really important to see what's on the other side before we start going down that path. So everything will be modeled out for you, and very closely. So it's really important.
Nicole, thank you. Thank you for that presentation, guys. Single quick question or two that we can, just in 15 minutes. You're good?
If you totaled all of your clients and then took all of the folks insured under them, can you give me a general round number of how many people people are on health insurance brokered by you.
Oh, goodness.
Gallagher by a whole.
Oh my gosh. Millions, billions?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, on our team alone, we're probably responsible for 50,000 lives. So it's a big population. It's understanding what's going on in the market.
I have one quick question. for you.
Yes.
And by the way, it's very likely that we will reach out, somebody will call and talk, maybe ask you questions, one of the other commissioners
Absolutely.
may have a question. So I know 15 minutes is not a large amount of time. But I have one question, and it comes into customer service. If we're going Gallagher, okay, so we start to implement the plan, and people are in the enrollment period.
Yes.
Will you have people here working with our employees, helping them to make those decisions into the plan that we have and how to best utilize that?
We can absolutely help with that. So I think employee education is critical. Like, we need your folks to understand what they're enrolling in. There's various ways to do that. We have some that prefer virtual sessions, all day virtual sessions. You can pop in. We have times where we are boots on the ground and we're sitting at a table and we have office hours and you can come meet with us. We have some that prefer to go a technology route, but every group is different, but it's our job to make sure that we're supporting you. So
So you would actually have people who come here to the county.
yes,
to
if that's what you
More
would
than
like.
likely, there'd be
Yeah.
the two of us with Cindy here as well.
Yeah,
And some of those meetings may have to occur before shift begins.
yeah.
More than happy. Yeah, we oftentimes will hold those employee education meetings, if I'm rolling meeting, we'll ensure that your are being met first and foremost. It's decided that in person is right.
Because this is going to be a big change, and this is something new,
Absolutely.
and so the employees are going to have a lot of questions that they need to answer
Absolutely.
face to face.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, you got anything else? We've let them go over a few minutes.
Right.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate your
The county
time.
appreciates your time and your interest in this. And like I said, I'm sure that there may be a phone call or two from the commissioners to ask follow-on questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be making a decision next Monday.
All right. If you'd
Um,
like any more, we have a lot of copies here. If you'd like any more, if anybody else.
If you'd like to leave them, some.
Leave them here if you want.
If you'd like to leave it and then.
And I'll get-
Some police standards.
I'll get my card because we have our emails listed, but not our, so you can have that.
Thank you so much. Of course.
Thanks for having us and good luck today. It's a lot of information.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It absolutely is.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thanks for having us in.
Stephanie, is first note out? Okay. 4 minutes or so. 15 minutes is time. Tom, good morning. How are you?
How are you guys?
Nice to meet you. Good. See you again.
Seth Reed.
Seth, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Jim
Yeah. Seth Reed. Jim. John, how are you? Seth Reed.
Rep Mark.
Well, right. There you go. Seth Reed. Jim Reed. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. How are you?
We are, I think you guys, were told 15 minutes, right? Definitely, right. Our clock is down, it's broken up there. So I want to just start a timer for you guys, and you're welcome to start. You guys are ready?
Very much. Seth's our Senior Vice President of First Insurance and Human Rights Benefits Program inside our company. So I'm going to let Seth, run with most of the program today. So
Great. Appreciate you guys having us, and invited to this, one of the finalists to talk about First Insurance. And we've been around for over 100 years. We've really grown, especially over the last 10 years or so. We've got, we're a subsidiary of First Mid Bank Shares. You're familiar with First Mid, they got local branches, where we've got 80 employees throughout mainly central and southern. So, and we offer a variety of products, especially large commercial for large healthcare risks, municipalities, cells, and things like that. So, we really specialize in certain areas, and healthcare is one of them. We have a strong team. We work with large self-insured. We do some captive arrangements with a lot of things as well, small groups. We have a very good Medicare team, especially people who turn 65, retirees, and those individuals. Some Medicaid. I don't know if you guys have any retirees on the plan right now, but we put in some place some Medicare products that really help that also. I think really looking at the program is kind of trying to understand what we currently have. We work with union groups, trying to figure out their needs, but looking at both sides, trying to figure out what's the best plan for you guys. What's the best avenue? Is it going to staying fully insured? I think you guys are on the state plan right now. Is it doing a partially self-insured? Is it a captive arrangement where you have a spread of risk with the captives as well, or fully insured? That probably, I would say that a partially self-insured or fully insured option probably be best depending on claims experience. But really, I don't know, what questions do you guys, I know we presented, gave you guys an RFP. You guys have any particular questions you'd like to cover, after reviewing that?
I think you have a question.
I do. So we've listened to groups already. We've all researched and read and certainly need more education. But as I understand it, where we are right now, the county still has to provide for many of the employees what is called a significantly similar product. And as I've researched this, it looks like no matter what broker we picked, if all of the employees stayed with that product, there's no significant savings. Is that a fair assessment, or do you believe you could provide a significantly similar product and the county find savings in that? And if not, or even if so, what's a different strategy to get to a point where we provide a product that is incentivized for the employee to want to sign up for it, and that product you can find a true savings for the taxpayer?
That's a great question. And yes, probably initially, especially when you pull this out and you're working with the various carriers, you're going to probably get similar prices, but it's in our thought process, especially with if you're looking at self-insured, it's kind of a long-term investment. And I think over the long term, that's where you bring in. It's something that goes in and you analyze the different, what's going on in your group. Do you have a lot of diabetics? Do you have, some other serious conditions? You got people on a lot of specialty medications. And then evaluate that, because there are different options you can do through a pharmacy benefit manager to help with those specialty medications, the cost for those medications. So I think maybe not, year one, but if you think about in a longer term solution, if you can bring down some of those prices or help provide or help get manufacturers to pay for certain medications or help managing certain diseases, then you're going to bring down your claims experience. And I think that's where, a broker would bring value for a group like yours.
Do you have any experience with HSAs, high deductibles, HRAs?
Absolutely. So our own group, and I'm on an HSA, First Mid, our organization is self-insured, and we have roughly 1,000 employees. So we do a lot of HSA education on our own employees plus other. So yeah, we do a lot of HSAs.
How have your clients that you've offered that to, how they respond? Bought into the HSA, HRAs? Is that something that they use to save money? How does it work for their employees?
It really varies, from client to client, and it's all about education and educating the employees. For the ones that we've had the opportunity to get in front of and really educate the members and show them why an HSA makes sense for them, I think they're the ones that like it. When you don't have that opportunity, or the individuals don't have aren't able to get that education, then they don't see quite the value. So it's all about educating employees on how HSAs work and why they're valuable.
And we have a pretty deep team of people that can respond to those things too. And be on the ground here with,
Well, that's good, because he actually was leading me into my next question. And that was about customer service. We've had CMS for a lot of years. The employees are used to that. They understand the benefits and all that. So if we choose First Mtg, we make a change. How will you handle enrolling the employees? Will you be here to help walk us through these changes? Will you be here to identify these plans and explain these plans to the individual employees?
We do, right, so we are very hands-on if that is what the group requests. If you want us, we have some groups, we still do the packets for the paper packets and hand, because that's what they want. We have others that they want more electronic, they want it through a HRIS system. We can offer that also, so we can do that, we do a combination of, but we absolutely would be boots on the ground to come to whatever meetings you need to provide that education, meet with members, stay late for meetings, come early, that, if there needs to be one-on-one conversations with certain individuals, we're absolutely available.
and that would primarily be my responsibility to coordinate that and make sure that we have people down here, to respond to whatever issues arise. And another thing, we have a broad range of experiences in insurance and risk management in our organization. And, I think that we think very creatively. There's a lot of things that, I'll just show you one example that we would offer. I don't know that this would be the solution, but we have, associated with the ICRT program that we have your property casualty now. IPMG has a TPA program for self-insured groups that we can use. And one of the things that they do, if it's an account that also has to work on, the nurse case manager that handles the work comp claim also handles the benefits claim for the same employee. With that, you identify double billings, you identify claims that have been misdirected to your workers' compensation. They're going to drive your comp up because both employees and providers sometimes would rather see their claim go on the work comp side than the medical benefits side. So this is something. Now I have personally experienced that, but I know that that local governments that have done that have found a lot of value in that, and they've uncovered, work comp fraud and things like that. So that's just an example of one thing that's different, and we're always looking for things that are effective and smart steps to take.
We have a lady on staff that she's got over 30 years experience. She actually came from the carrier side. She actually used to work for Aetna, but before that it was Coventry and then personal care. And she processed claims. She understands the claims process. And she spends a lot of time our clients' members, if there is a claim situation, helping do that. Filing, she's helped file, grievances against the Department of Insurance for those members. So I think she provides that a real value to your members when a claim does arise and it's becoming a difficult claim. She recently did one where it was an individual, you probably have this, where you have maybe double coverage, like a spouse or something like that covered on their plan, but still on the county plan. And sometimes that can be difficult to navigate when you have two coverage, different companies.
If the decision was made and went your way, how fast could you make the switch for the county?
Pretty quickly. We would need to get information. I mean, it all depends on how quickly we be able to gather information, but probably within 60 days, I mean, we could get something maybe a little bit sooner. We could get right on it.
So we can expect those people that want to help us make the change with our employees, they would do all that within 60 days.
Yeah.
So that one-on-one customer service would be maybe before starting hours, maybe before shift starts, maybe at the end of the shift.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay, so that timeframe could be basically any time of the day.
Yeah, we don't operate from 8 to 5. We understand that it's kind of gonna be more impossible to, so, yeah, we would deploy whatever resources needed to make sure.
So on that same track, I'm sorry, guys, I need to ask these two questions. When our employees call, they have a claim, they have a question, who answers the phone? Where does that call go to? Does that go to you guys? Does that go to, what could? our
well,
employees
I think
expect?
what, the way we would do it is direct it to my office and then we would triage that, you know, and make sure that we get, you know, we get response from the right, you know, the right in the organization. And I think we, you know, our organization too offers one of the best combinations of, you know, deep experience and talented people, but also, you know, a local presence to where, you know, we can have people, you know, speaking locally, to, you know, familiar with your employees, familiar with, you know, the environment around you, and get in touch with specialists about it.
You have any other counties around that are covered with first meeting or using first meeting
For health insurance,
for health insurance?
if it counts.
Not in southern Illinois. Hills County and around there where we have more disparities.
They did provide several references on the. If we did make the change, how would you handle our mid-year change? Premium wise, cost wise, what would we expect? I know you can't tell us what the rates would be.
Right.
But what would we expect? How would that change over happen from the first 6 months into the new, typically year end and then new year? Is that how that would be? Or how would that work?
Are you guys, well, I guess we would have to figure out exactly what you're looking for from a mid-year change. Are you looking to switch it over mid-year and then keep that date? Or are you looking for, because are you looking to change as of like 7/1, but still keep 1/1 renewal date? I guess we'd have to figure out exactly what you were looking for.
You could do a mid-year.
Yeah, you're not, I mean, that's what we would look at, is switching off mid-year. We would have to look at your current contract as far as whether you guys are able to, remove yourself from the group mid-year or not. I think it would depend on what you guys currently have in place, to see. I'm not familiar with your contract, so I don't know whether or not that allows you to leave the program mid-year or not. So could be some restrictions. If there are no restrictions there, then we could bring you on mid-year without issue. Now would be determined whether or not, hey, do you want to keep, you know, or do you want a 7/1 date or whatever date that would be, or would you want to get back to a 1/1 date? And then we would have to figure that out, like, you know, hey, does that require re-underwriting as of 1/1? Because every carrier is a little bit different on how they would treat that. And what we would do is we would sit down with you guys. What is it you guys are looking for? And then we would try and match those needs with the right partner on our end.
How many lives in health insurance under you right now?
Oh. Let's see, I bet you we have. Because we operate in 20,000. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd probably say, you know, 20,000. There's a lot of small, it's hard to put a number because we do have so many small groups too. Yeah, but we have some large groups, so I'd say easily 20,000.
Well, last words, gentlemen. Have you got anything you'd like to tell us before we finish?
Well, I just like, hey, I appreciate you guys having us here. I think that we can, you'd be pleased to come over to First Insurance Group. I think we did a good job for you. I think, you know, some mentioned we do have a local presence. Not everybody's local, but, you know, I'm not that far away. I can be down here pretty quickly for meetings and a lot of our staff as well.
And, yeah, we do. Our organization itself, we have people all over the state, all the time. So we're used to moving around the city. We're all working out, we're all mobile, we're all, nimble and responsive. And we get around.
We have between our 80 employees, we have people that have been there 30 years, we have 40 years, we have a ton of experience. So, even if I don't necessarily, I may not be an expert in everything, then I would never claim I would be, but we do have, a lot of people that are truly experts in different areas. And we can always, and they're great resources.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. We
Thank you.
appreciate your interest in this.
Thanks for listening.
This board will be making the decision on the broker on next month.
Excellent.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See you, Tom.
Thanks, John.
Have a good day, Tom. It's good seeing you again.
Thanks. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'll take that. Okay. We do have people that are coming in for the 10 o'clock meeting, so. That first question is a really good question. Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys? Good to see you again.
Good morning.
I'm sorry.
Jason.
Jason, I'm Tim.
Yep.
Gayla
Yeah.
Are you the letters tomorrow?
Flowers.
I just brought an extra, you already have the proposal, but they said this was an interview, so I thought I'd bring our resume again, because you have to bring a resume
Absolutely.
to an interview.
Our clock is broke, and I think you guys were told you have 15 minutes for that. Our clock is broke, so I've got a timer. Okay. On the phone, we're kind of holding about the same time.
Okay.
So when you're ready, I'll hit the button, and you guys can go at it.
I am ready.
Okay.
Well, first off, introduction wise, I'm Travis Cochran, Jason Cox, Gail Flowers, all local. Our office is here in Marion. We can talk about that. I live in Johnston City, Illinois. My wife is a teacher here in Southern Illinois, a lifelong resident. Other than living in Carbondale for 2 years in the 90s while I was going to school, Williams County is the only place that I have ever left. So in our proposal, we had a little bit in terms of who we were and what we did. But I thought we could play with that just a little bit on the right side of your form there. I thought I would give you the opportunity to take a few notes as we go through with the numbers that are listed on the right-hand side.
Yeah, the right-hand side.
Right-hand side. Numbers on the right-hand side. So this is a great place for you to take notes as we go through who we are and what we are. First, number 3. Essentially, our proposal, we talked through 3 core principles that we are focused on from an agency perspective. Number 1, strategic planning. When we come in to work with an account, we look at it as a partnership and working with you to determine what the needs of the account are and what we best can do to help you meet those needs. So strategic planning is extremely important, that we want to look at what are your goals, both short-term, long-term, and that's where we begin with the entire process. So that's one of the 3 fundamentals that we look at, we pride ourselves on. Number 2 is 5-star service. Service for us is not what gets an account, but it's what keeps an account. And 5-star service is our priority. That revolves around a number of things. Number 1 is presence. I think the advantage possibly that we have by being a local agency, we can be here within a moment's notice. We are already in the courthouse on a regular basis, handling some of the ancillary benefits that are there. We want a presence that is here. We're going to see you at work, and we're also going to see you at Walmart. We're going to see you at the grocery store. And for us, service is not something that happens from 8 to 4:30. Service is, in our minds, it's 7 days a week. I'm going to be honest with you that, we talk through it. We get phone calls at 8 o'clock at night. We get phone calls on the weekends. It's fine. It's what we're here for. Service is that second most important piece of the three core fundamentals that we have. And number three is technology. We pride ourselves on the technology that we provide for our clients and how it streamlines what you do. If you called any of our references and you talked to any of the administrative personnel that work in those clients that we gave to you, I'm pretty sure that you would have had nothing but glowing reviews from the HR managers and what we're able to do from a technology standpoint to make HR's job easier and also the employees' lives easier. So 3 core fundamentals that we bring to the table. That second number, 87. 87 is the number of combined years of experience in the insurance industry that the three of us sitting here in front of you have today. I think it's important for you to know that this is not something that we started last week. It's not something that we started last year. 2 of us here have 30 years experience, and I'm not going to tell you who the 2 are, but we have been at it for a long period of time. And with that, we have seen many things come and go. We have seen many alternatives in that. I think it's important that you know, if you add up the rest of the experience in our Marion office, it's 150 years of experience with producers in the CSR area. So that's important. That next number, 375, that's the number of life and health groups that we currently service. We are not just getting started. This has been something that's been going on since the 70s and continue to grow this. I will tell you that one of the things that we're pretty proud of, one of the technology pieces that we use, it's called Employee Navigator. It is a online, it's basically an enrollment technology piece that just makes HR work. It makes life easier for everyone. I was referred to it as Amazon for benefits, because if you've ever bought anything on Amazon, it's what it is. We have over 10,000 lives that are currently on Employee Navigator through our agency that we're managing those benefits for over 10,000 different individuals through that platform. 9,620. What's the significance of that? Our address is 9620 Pentecost Road, Marion, Illinois. When it comes time to service, your employees are able to drop into an office in Marion, Illinois, see any of the 3 of us, see any of our CSRs. It is staffed Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. But if one of us is not there, someone is there for service. And I think that for your employees in particular, it's important for them to know that there is a personal touch, and they do get that with us. It's not an 800 number. It's not calling Chicago. It's not calling Atlanta, Georgia. It's calling Marion, Illinois, talking to people that they know. That next number, I went and looked at 10 accounts that we wrote as new clients last year. Some of them were references that we had in the list. That number represents the savings that we were able to save those 10 accounts last year. Now, a couple of those accounts were $20,000 in savings, but there were a number of them that we saved into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So $1,846,676 is what we saved. It was 8 accounts that I looked at. Those 8 accounts, that is what we saved them last year. Can I sit here today and guarantee you that I'm going to save you money? I'm not foolish enough to guarantee that that's going to happen, but what I can guarantee is accounts that we worked with last year, we were able to dig in from that strategic planning standpoint, and we were able to save them money. That is our goal. And our focus, if you choose us as your broker, that we're able to sit down with you and do that same thing with you that we've done for those other clients here in Southern Illinois. That last number, it's my personal cell phone number. I didn't put their personal cell phone numbers on there, but we are committed to personal service in such a manner that we provide our personal cell phones to every single employee in the county. Now, I realize that sometimes that's a dumb thing to do, but we are committed to it because what we feel is that if somebody has a question or a concern, and if it's at any point in time, that it's easier for them to call us and get help. So with that, I don't know where I'm at time-wise.
Got about 7 minutes, right on the dot.
I nailed
That was
it.
pretty quick.
So went through with that and felt that I wanted to save time if you had questions for us. I mean, we can talk about benchmarking, we can talk about the other things, but if I can't cover it in 7 minutes, what we can do, not very good speaker. So, I mean, questions that you would have for us?
Got a two-part question.
Okay.
So as we've listened for the last several weeks and educated ourselves, this is what I've come away with. The county has to provide for many of the employees policy or coverage that is significantly similar, no matter who we would choose.
Sure.
That has to be one of the options.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my understanding that no matter who we would choose for that, the savings to the county would be, I would call them insignificant. That it's relatively going to be the same for whoever the broker is. Is that a fair assessment?
It's fair assessment.
Okay. So then the next part of that is we need to find savings for the county while providing good coverage for employees. So we need a plan that gives an incentive to an employee to want to sign up for it. And on the back end, we're saving money over here. Do you have a strategy for that? And I know it's off the top of your head, but you have a strategy.
I mean, so we see similar scenarios come into play, and as we've gone through this, working with, different school districts, different municipalities with unions being involved, we understand that oftentimes there's many moving parts that are there. There's only so many ways that you can design something, only so many different ways that you can go about. I think where we've seen our most success and where you're going to come to, and obviously I've been in a number of these meetings, is utilizing an HRA. There's been that conversation with HSAs that are there. You can get your plan to be significantly similar through the utilization of HRAs and looking at levels of coverage within networks that are out there. So when you look at a fee schedule reimbursement for Health Alliance as compared to United, compared to Blue Cross, those fee schedules are the things that really determine where the spend for benefits within the county is. So I think you have to look at where are the employees going for treatment, and then look at what are the big spends that you have and how can we put together a plan strategy that includes the HRA. I'm more of a fan of an HRA from a taxpayer standpoint. I know there was that conversation about preloading HSAs, but once you preload that, it's gone. We see success, and we have a large number of accounts that if we go fully insured, so we're looking at the HRA strategy, because then that money's not gone until it's used, and then only at that point in time when we see tremendous savings that are there. The self-funded piece, I think it's a great option for the county. I think the biggest problem we have right now, to be honest, is not knowing where your spend is at and what it looks like. So, for me to say that the self-funded model is the best, I would be foolish to say that, not knowing where the spend is and what it's going. If you have, 6 people on specialty drugs that are costing you, $250,000 a year, it's hard to do much with those other than find that best PBM that's going to manage that and get you the best discount that is there. So again, it comes down to that. We've successfully done that with many other accounts, utilizing the HRA piece, looking at the plan designs and how can we give similar coverage, but know that at the same time we can drive that cost down, and then utilizing additional tools to help contain costs. And I can give you 2 quick examples that we've done with that. Tri-County Special Ed District in Murfreesboro had a large number of people that were taking maintenance medications. just maintenance drugs. So we were able to sit down with many of them. We found a plan. It's a non-commissionable plan. We get absolutely nothing from it whatsoever, but it's in the marketplace today. It's called directhealth.com. It's $120 a year membership fee. And they have 500 drugs that, if you're a member, are a $0 copay. So we had a large number of employees that were taking maintenance drugs that were on this plan. We were able to, in this situation, the account decided to pay for that for them, $120. And now all of those drugs are a $0 copay. They're not coming in as a expenditure on the claims side of things. And we're able to drive down that utilization of pharmacy within there by shifting it somewhere else. It's one. Parent schools decided that they were going to purchase Teladoc. I know it's been spoken about here before. I mean, I've been in the meetings, so we utilize that heavily. Again, it is a situation that for a small per employee per month fee, we can provide a Teladoc option that anytime an employee has that sinus infection, bladder infection, those things are easily treatable. It's a $0 copay and it's a consult on phone. If we can save $100 to $200 office visits per year at an average cost of $300 per visit, we again drive those down. So it becomes education and looking outside the box. Answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah.
Jim.
Customer service, you answered that when we call, it would be you answering the phone. If we make the switch over to you guys.
Sure.
Okay, whenever it's time to enroll our people, what kind of customer service can we expect there? Will you come in and help each individual employee make the decisions that's best for them? Because this is a very complicated thing to understand.
Absolutely. And I mean, so Jason that's here, he's helped with enrollments in the county for years when it came to the Aflac benefits. So we have a pretty good understanding of the makeup of the county in terms of the different departments and, who's going to need more help than others. We are 100% boots on the ground, group meetings, individual follow-up if needed. We are here to educate, and it's going to be in person.
Right. So some of those may be before shift or after a shift. Could be.
We're here. We do this. We are 100%.
This is the hard.
Yeah, getting them to come in or catch them in and out. But
Well, I just wanted to single anybody out.
But no, we know.
No,
I mean,
certainly
I'm there
thank
at
you.
6 in the morning. I'm there at 10 at night.
we're weekends.
We're the shifts.
We are 100% comfortable with that. We have no issue whatsoever. And we will customize that enrollment schedule with your direction and then the help from the directors in each office. So we're going to work with you hand in hand through that. So we do a lot of hand holding and we're okay with hand holding.
Those are Commissioner Marlowe's words. Gentlemen, have you got anything else to ask?
If we made a decision, the decision went your way, how long to make the switch of CMS to DC?
I mean, we would need, once the data is in our hands, we would immediately, I will tell you, we're prepared to go to market tomorrow. I have one of the big carriers in my office today, not for this, but just for two other groups that we were wrapping up. Blue Cross, we have a meeting with them on Friday. So we're in a position to go to market tomorrow. We can go to market today and we have it prepared. The good thing is this is I won't say it's a slow time for insurance companies, but it's a slower time. So the speed to market and the return is quick. So we would normally need, 7 to 10 days to start getting data back. And then at that point in time, it's going to be, what's your expectations? How are we going to manage looking at all of the different options that are out there? And how do we want to need to go through that. So it would come back to you at that point. We are staffed and fully prepared to move.
On standard health insurance plan, coming out of COVID, I mean, do you see that have any insight as to what's in the future, the increases or as we come out of COVID?
Sure. I mean, fair question. So two conversations that I had this week. And then it's interesting to look at. So we do run a lot with Health Alliance and a lot with Blue Cross. We're starting to see some 7/1 renewals that are coming to the table right now. And trend, it's the word that's used in the insurance world, is what is the cost of healthcare and how is it rising year over year? 5 to 7% is the trend that we are seeing with accounts this year. So, I mean, I think that's
That's kind of like what
industry standard right now, that just the cost of providing healthcare is increasing by 5 to 7%.
but you don't see like a double digit.
I mean, we haven't seen that at this point in time. I think that,
I mean, just,
it's, but a lot of it is politics, as you well know.
yeah.
When it comes to healthcare and, what does the government say has to be included, what doesn't have,
Right.
those are things that come into play.
Yeah.
But I think that by and large, we're seeing that 5 to 7, and that's kind of been the trend, I think even for the last 5 years. I mean, would you agree that in the health cases that we've looked at, that has been trend? It is, there was 2 years in COVID there, the trend went really down because there was very little utilization, but on average, that's what we're seeing.
Gentlemen, anything else? Thank you so much for your interest and
Yeah.
participation today.
And what is the time? I mean, so that I know. Monday?
We'll be back in the city.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
There may be phone calls from us, following up with questions.
Anytime, we're here.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, good seeing you. Yeah.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Good to see you. Yeah, thank you.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Stephanie will take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
And we'll bring everybody else back into the regular meeting. I didn't know you brought snacks, man.
I ran out.
You're just gonna take a 5-minute
Oh, yeah. I kind of need that.
There's
Yeah.
one.
Christian Big Truck should have a thing on it. Yes, absolutely. Welcome back. We're back for a short recess. It's 9:22 on Tuesday morning. Let's get back into the agenda. Adopt the agenda. You guys have a chance to go through the reports in the minutes. We have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Jim Reason.
Okay, public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment?
Take this down so you can hear me.
Sure.
I've been sending quite a few of them email. My name's Rosemary Baker, and she's my neighbor, so she kind of knows what's going on a little bit too. But I've been having trouble for years with my neighbors to the north of me. I have a ditch that runs across my property, and it's on Crab Orchard Road. And both sides of Old Route 13, we have water running down. Both sides on the east and west. Plus, my neighbor has got an unbelievable amount of water coming from the south. And it's all going into this one stream. And it's just getting an excess amount of water. So I wrote Mr. Beverbeck a letter of concern because of the spring rains coming in. It's already done a lot, about several $1,000s damage to my home.
Is Mr. Beverbeck, is he your neighbor?
Pardon?
Is he your neighbor?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know. I've been keeping in touch with Mike Absher. And he told me to come up here and talk to you.
Right.
So the letter of concern that I wrote to him is not really a threat.
Mhm.
But when he got this, he came to my house and he was mad. And we walked down to the ditch and I was trying to explain. He's got to clean that up. Otherwise, it's going to keep destroying my property. There's been 2 or 3 times. You can't get too close to that ditch. I've been off on my lawnmower because it caved off. It has eroded so much. I was sitting like this looking up the sky and I was praying too.
I would imagine, yes.
And I got the mower shut off and got off of it, got to the mower and pulled it out of there. But this is jeopardizing me. Plus, him coming down there, he cussed me up one side down the other. I don't appreciate that. That meant a threat to me. And then one of the neighbors seen him out there by the ditch here a while back and texted me and let me know. Excuse me, I got a disease and I can't hardly breathe that good. But anyway, they see him out there in the back with black on, a black backpack and a rifle. And that scared me. And I was talking to my dad about it and he said, well, that would scare me too. So I've been up there numerous times when William Hudson owned it and talked to him. He didn't do nothing. And this young man, I've been up there, talked to him nice about it. He's not going to do nothing. He wants me to take money out of my pocket and pay to get that fixed.
Okay, so could you tell us what needs to be fixed?
As far as my property,
Well, what's causing the problem, as you said? Could you explain that? Could you explain the situation to us?
from Old Route 13,
Mhm.
there's a ditch that's supposed to run all the way to New 13.
Okay.
It's grown up right there
So
at the north end of my property.
there's trees and brush, that kind of stuff that's in the ditch.
Right,
Do you own the property?
Yes.
The ditch is on, okay, so that's your property.
yes,
Yeah. And on his property, is the ditch on his property also?
yes.
Is the water flowing from your property to his property? That's what's happening?
It's flowing from south to north toward the New 13.
Okay. Does that mean that the water's going from your property onto his property where it's
Correct.
getting backed up because he's not maintaining his ditches?
Correct.
Okay, so the end result is that he's not cleaning out his ditches, keeping his ditches flat for the free movement of water. And when he doesn't do that, then the water backs up onto your property, causing you property damage.
Right.
Okay.
It's been up almost in my barn. In fact, it has been in my barn and run some things. It wasn't important at the time, but I don't want it. I got my vehicles, I got my lawnmowers in there, and I had a ditch across I had a bridge across the ditch, so I don't have to go out on Old 13, because those people fly by there.
I do, that's very fast. Right there.
And I ride my lawnmower across the bridge. Well, it's gonna have to be real good. This is the third time that I'm gonna have to rebuild it. My basement, where the pipe goes up into my basement, it's run my basement. It's just running.
Can you tell me, would you happen to know if the county has easement or right of way on that ditch? Do you know if there's any kind of right of way?
As for IDOT,
There's no.
No, as far as the county. So
No,
I would
I don't
assume that
think so.
is what you're asking the county is if we could go out and clean the ditch? Is that what you're asking for us to do?
no. I just want him to do what he's supposed to be doing by law. He's supposed to be maintaining that. I've been talking to Katie at Department of Army Corps of Engineers at St. Louis, and she called me just here a while back. She was down there 4 years ago. And of course, she said she can't do anything. She can't go up to this guy's house and say, hey, you've got to get this done and this done. But anyway, she just called me here recently and told me to come and talk to you and talk to Mike Absher. And so Mike is aware of what's going on.
Well, Mike and I can tell you, Mike and I briefly talked about this maybe a week or two ago. And then I called Travis, our highway engineer, and he was aware of the situation. He had informed me that he thought it was all on private property. So that means the county really doesn't have jurisdiction. We can't really force clean up that ditch. At least that's the way it was explained to me. I'm wondering, are you asking us to reach out to the sheriff's department and the state's attorney to try and enforce this?
That I have reached out to the state's attorney, and I did forward you his response. That because it's all private property, there's really nothing the county can do, much like Mike Absher. He's just over the city of Marion.
Right.
And we all have our own jurisdictions that we're over. But that, being that it's on private property, the county really doesn't have any authority to do anything as far as that. Do you have any comment on this situation?
No, that's correct. She has a private cause of action. Somebody impedes the natural flow of water. There is a damage clause. That would be private action.
So something like that, then she'd basically have to hire her own attorney.
She would have to bring suit against him.
Bring a suit against them.
Like a civil suit.
Yes.
So I could get a hold of the state's attorney.
On
Not
a
the
civil
state.
suit, on a civil suit, you would have to have your own attorney.
Okay.
Right. Now, there was some question as to whether or not there was a law being violated. Right. Brett, on a law like that, is that something that is enforceable or is
There's so the most common examples that you have is where somebody does a new construction and builds up their elevation or does something to change the natural landscape that then creates a backflow of water or pressure or an increased flow, either or. And then that's where there's a compensation module that they put into place to how do you fix that.
I hesitate to go back up there because I don't trust him anymore.
And I did on my email to you, for that if you feel threatened in any way to call 911 or sheriff's office and let them know. They can come out there to see if there's any threat
Okay.
on that. But that doesn't take care of the ditch issue.
Right.
So,
I would reach out to the sheriff also. I'll call the sheriff and tell him that you had said that there was a report of him dressed in black, maybe carrying a rifle.
Yeah, I got it on my phone when they text me.
Okay. I'll reach out to him. Whatever actually sheriff or the state's attorney tag. That would be independent of what our board does. But somebody will absolutely call him and ask him to take a look into it.
So there's not anybody, I mean, there's not actually an agency that takes care of excess water or drainage code that can go tell him, hey, you got to do this.
There is if it's a public easement or a public right of way, so if it's a maintenance of a ditch, but a private ditch on a property, which is what it sounds like is existing, that becomes a civil cause as opposed to a public concern.
So
I
we're
need to talk to a lawyer then.
yeah, ultimately, you're gonna have to talk to an attorney. It sounds like to us. But I did talk to Travis, and the ditches the county are responsible for cleaning
Are clean to maintain.
and maintained, yeah.
IDOT owns the road and right of way to the north and to the south.
Yeah.
Of the properties. So that would be with IDOT, but, I would like to think, I could be all wrong, but most attorneys would sit down and give you 20 minutes just to listen to your problem, to see if there is a solution that they can help you. So.
So, there is a solution, but it means that you'll have to go to court, maybe sue them to get a resolution.
Well, I appreciate all of your time, all of you trying to help me.
I know it's frustrating.
It is, I've been fighting this for years and it's starting to get old. And when he starts coming on my property and I feel like it's a threat, that's not gonna get it.
Well, I think Commissioner Marlowe had very good advice there. If you feel threatened, by all means, please call the sheriff's department.
Okay,
And they will come out.
okay. I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Does anyone else have a public comment they'd like to make? Okay, moving on to new business.
All of you have a good day.
You too. Ryan, the EMA, the U of I extension of presenting a team community emergency response. Team.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Pat and I had talked about what our plans were, the agency moving forward. And one of the things that we had talked about was growing volunteerism and to eventually start a CERT program. And I'm gonna give Pat a couple of minutes to let you guys know what a CERT program is. But when we had talked about volunteerism is down across the country. People are always screaming, Red Cross is screaming volunteers, volunteer fire department screaming volunteers, EMAs are screaming volunteers. Everybody's looking for a way to engage their communities. One of the things that we found at the fire district that was particularly successful was starting the junior firefighter program through the Boy Scouts. It's an Explorer Post. And we had reached out to our U of I extension and talked about how we could engage youngsters in what we do. And they informed us about this, what they call My Pie program. And I'm not going to steal their thunder. We asked them to come here today. So we are working on a collaborative to start this program in our area high schools. We've contacted the superintendents and the principals at Marion and Heron to run pilot programs, and we're working on trying to get those established for the fall. So I asked them to come in today to share what the program is with you so you're aware of what we're doing. And hopefully we can revisit you this time next year and share some good successes. So that being said, I'm going to have Pat come up and talk to you about what a CERT program is, and then he'll introduce our partners.
Good morning.
Okay.
Community Emergency Response Team. It's a program that was started in 1985 after the Los Angeles Fire Department went and looked at the untrained volunteer response of civilians to the Mexico and Japanese earthquakes. What they found out was the untrained volunteers, who are helpful at the time, there's another flip side to that. They need trained because they can also get themselves hurt. For example, Mexico, there was 10,000 people killed in the Mexico earthquake in 1985. They had 700 untrained volunteers saving lives. They saved 700 lives. Of those 700 untrained volunteers, 100 were killed. So now what the Los Angeles Fire Department did was they took what they learned from all that and they formed CERT. And what CERT does is once the people that take CERT go through the course, they form a team. They can opt into forming a team, and that team will be beneficial in the event of a disaster to the local communities and the counties. What it entails is that once an incident happens, tornado, earthquake, whatever, they would respond within their neighborhood first, take care of their home, take care of their neighbors, and then they would report to a central location, and they would report in that this team is ready. You know, what do you have for us to do? They can either tell them to stay at their location or go somewhere else. They don't do the type of heavy work that the fire departments, the EMS, and the police departments do. They do the lighter work. If they can put a fire out with a fire extinguisher, they'll do it. If they can lift a lightweight piece of wall off of a victim, they'll do it. They're trained to do it. They can do basic first aid. They get a CPR training and AED training. They can be used in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, when we have it open. We can cross-train them to help us. But that's what CERT's all about. And it's been a program, like I said, since 1985, well, 86, when the first class was given. And it's been going ever since nationwide. And now Team CERT is a spinoff of CERT. They learn some of the basic courses that we have in our criteria, in our system, but they don't learn all of it. They're limited because of their age. And what the Team CERT basic concept was for is being in the school, in the event something happens, the administrators can utilize them to help, and also their peers will look up to them during a disaster. And there'll be a twofold process. They can get the peers to listen, easier because they're one of our own. And this course that they have is a mirrored image of CERT. I've been a CERT instructor since 2005 with the state. We've given one course in Williamson County, and it was the only course asked for in Williamson County. And I'll be honest with you, CERT is a program that there's a lot of skepticism from it because the fire department say, well, they're just going to get in the way. Well, they don't understand that. Once you explain the concept of it to them, then they say, oh, okay, we understand now what it's all about. But I think it'll be a beneficial program to the county, to the local governments, and the school districts in here. Now, these two ladies are from U of I Extension Office. I'll let them introduce themselves.
So my name is Carrie Eldridge. I am the 4-H Youth Development Educator, and so I serve 5 counties: Franklin, Williamson, Jackson, Perry, and Randolph. And
I'm Ramona Gertman. I am the Williamson County 4-H Program Coordinator. So I focus all of my efforts in developing clubs and educational experiences within Williamson County.
And so, real quick, about 4-H, a lot of times when you hear 4-H, you think of what? Cows, pigs, goats, those kinds of things. Cookies. So there's a lot more to 4-H than that. And we do a lot of programming into the schools, after school programs. We have a lot of different curriculum that we do into the schools. And so with my background, I have a lot of community partners that I've worked with for years. And so Williamson County EMA is one of those partners that I've worked with. So we thought we'd bring my my PI program, and I'll let Mona explain that more to you guys, and why we think it's an important program to bring to the youth of Williamson County.
So, Carrie's testing out some information in this 4-H brochure. There is a flyer from my last PI course that I facilitated, and there's also a extension in action. It's our impact report for our units, just so you can see a little bit more about what extension does in our communities. So my PI is, it stands for My Preparedness Initiative. It is designed specifically for teens. It was developed out of Mississippi State through their extension, and then it was launched through several states, and we were one of the pilot states for launching the curriculum for widespread education. So the whole concept behind My PI is to offer a place for children, youth, particularly teens, to learn the basics of, as Pat was saying, CERT concepts, how to volunteer, but more importantly, how to have some self-efficacy for when a disaster happens, and what to do for yourself and your immediate family or the immediate people around you. So with a school system, if they were at home and there was a tornado or whatever it may be, how they can respond to lessen the burden on the major emergency response system. So smaller things they can handle themselves within their families and their households, and then allow greater impact for public services as everyone responds to the emergency. So there's 3 components to the My PI program. There is the learning the curriculum, so learning first aid, disaster medical response, disaster psychology, light search and rescue, fire suppression and fire safety, all of those concepts, which are lifted from the certification curriculum. And then there's also a leadership and community service component. So every child who participates in My PI, they are required to offer community service. And there's a very specific project they're required to do. They are asked to work with their own family and then 6 additional families or households to build their own household emergency kits. The concept behind that is, again, to lessen the burden when an emergency does happen on the major response resources, so families can be a little more self-sustainable as they move forward with an emergency. Like we just celebrated May 8th, Duratio. How many families, of course, they didn't have water? We had to run. Like I remember my family, we had to go to Cape Girardeau to get batteries and water because we didn't have a kit. So having those type of conversations and having the kids teach other households how to prepare those kits that are going to be very secure for them. And then the other piece of it, the third piece of My PI, is the career track. So we engage as many professionals in emergency response as possible, like FEMA, fire departments, police, any ambulance services, to offer additional information about potential careers that these kids could have. I have hosted My PI in Williamson County over the summer with Carrie. It was a great success, and we involved, every time we had a presentation, we had hands-on activities from a service provider within the county, which was amazing. Kids got to talk a lot about what they could do with that information and how they could, their own trajectory and their careers and what interests they have, how they can match potential career opportunities. And then I've also hosted this in my previous role as a coordinator in Jefferson County. And we did very similar things there, and we were able to steward several children into the junior fire academy in Cal Fire District. They were junior cadets. And so we were able to steward a lot of children into potential careers. So it's a exciting program. It teaches self-efficacy, it teaches civic engagement, volunteerism, again, career pathways. So we feel it's a very crucial program that we can offer to children, and we're very excited to work with FEMA and making it a broader reach through the school systems. That's what we're doing today. And we'll be doing a summer program as well this summer for kids who might not have access to it through the schools yet. So, if you have any questions?
What schools have you been to so far?
So I have hosted this, the flyer you have is actually from last summer. And this was hosted at John A. Logan College through their community education outreach. And it was open to any child who was interested in a weekly like summer camp experience. And so that's how we hosted. So I had children from all over the county in several different towns. But this program that Brian and Pat are spearheading with us, that partnership is going to focus on Marion High School and Heron High School. There are two largest high schools. We're hoping to create great pilot programs out of them and then ripple it out to all the other schools.
Excellent.
Nate Addison and Jeff. What's Jeff's last name? Principal at Heron High School. Jeff Johnson they're already on board, so they're trying to hook us up with a sponsor. Each district has to have a teacher representative as a sponsor for the club. And once they get the teachers signed out, then we'll be ready to start the program, hopefully in the fall.
You do the training, like CPR and that kind of stuff at the school?
Yes, we'll do it all.
When I teach CERT class for the specific topics, like fire, I'll have a fire chief come in. EMS stuff, first aid stuff, I let the ambulance service come in. So that way the kids can get, or the student can get a feel of how these people are, get a taste of it. And Brian and I are being vetted through the U of I Extension Office to be part of this program.
So it is extremely important for us to, in 4-H, we learn by doing. It's experiential learning. That is our entire model of how we interact with kids, giving them opportunities to learn through hands-on activities. And so it's very crucial that we partner with folks like Pat and Brian and other providers in our community because they are able to bring multiple tools. Our kids learn stop the bleed training over the summer, CPR, first aid, and we were able to tap into those assets that providers had. So they were learning real skills that were hands-on. It wasn't just in a classroom setting experience because not all kids learn that way. I don't know if you do remember being in school, but it wasn't always a lecture that you learned the best from, right? So we do a lot of interactive moving those major muscle groups and it can stick a little bit better in their head. So when bad things do happen, they will have that in them that they physically, I know how to put pressure on that wound, or I know how to use that fire extinguisher.
I think that this is an absolute great program. I think, starting it at home, on home level, and the teens, I think they're eager to learn, get them activated and active in education in a program like this. And not only just for their own public safety, but they need to a career. That's some sort of life-saving area, whether it be fire, police. No, I think this is an absolute great.
This will be an annual thing.
Yes, sir. The plan is we start the programs at the high schools and then it'd be reoccurring. And in their leadership component, one of the things I like about their curriculum is once we get somebody all the way through the program and we bring them back as peer trainers. And then they could literally, if you start as a freshman, and by the time you're a senior, you could be a peer trainer in the program.
4-H is a younger group. I get that it runs through high schools, they start younger. Do you have any future plans to expand down to the school systems or just stay in high school?
Right now, we've not had that discussion.
We haven't had that discussion, but 4-H has access to curriculum that can be provided to, that is more age appropriate for younger audiences, but this is our primary goal right now is to launch and we'll explore future opportunities.
And the Teen Cert program through CERT, the FEMA course, which is a FEMA course, has age requirements for that level. So we have to check that too.
So this course is specifically designed for high school students.
So other than working with PMA, and I would think maybe we need to, or we could put some of this information on our website. Is there anything else?
Wow, I wasn't prepared for that, actually. Thank you so much. Could we be in touch with that? I would love promotional opportunities, Brian. I'm sure Pat, when we are moving forward, we will probably have more specific requests to support the program. But we're in the planning stages and it just means so much that you are providing support in the first place.
I don't know how updated our website is. Still be working on whatever we can.
You can put stuff on there
Please.
anytime.
Okay, so we can put stuff on it. This so.
Very much. I know we also partnered over the summer with Williamson County's fire department. They were pretty instrumental in us offering our fire suppression education piece. So I know that the county has supported us greatly in the past. We're very appreciative of that. And I will get updated information and just more accurate. This is just an old flyer, but I'll pull all of that together and who should I submit it to?
You can bring it here.
Yeah, anything comes to me, we'll.
You're one with it next.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
How many students do you anticipate in this?
When I had the high school fire science academy, I was averaging between 15 and 20 kids countywide. And that was what they had to come to me. So since we're going to the schools, I'm anticipating 10 to 15 at each school because that program, when I left, created a vacuum. And it was targeting a lot of those kids who didn't fit into the academic clubs, who don't play sports, you know, who don't necessarily connect with any of the traditional type clubs. So we're gonna really focus on, this is a hands-on doing type club, and it's gonna be an opportunity for you to learn how to do, you know, first responder type stuff.
I would think the board will be able to provide recognition for those that complete the program too, to kind of put an incentive on the back end of it.
That'd be awesome.
When I gave the, presented the first cert course, it's a lengthy course. I mean, you know, you're there 4 hours a night, you know, learning topics. There was a lot of enthusiasm in it, but we had the class makeup was people from Jackson, Johnson, and Williamson, and Franklin. And when it came to forming the team, there wasn't any interest in forming a team for Williamson County because you have people from surrounding counties. What I'd like to see is that we do another course for Williamson County residents and who are interested in forming a team that will assist us in the event of a disaster.
I think one of the beautiful things about us partnering together and working specifically with these high school kids, families listen to their kids. You know, like if you listen to your children in your home, you listen to your niece, your nephew, your godson, whoever that may be, you're listening to them. So I think there's a beautiful potential to expand once we start having this conversation in our communities to really start building this concept of that's something I need to be aware of. I didn't know those were opportunities available to me as an adult as well. And so maybe we could gain some traction.
I was going to add that the day that I leave here, I will not be leaving the program because I'll be with them. And I never lose my certification through the state. I still keep that. So I'll be available to teach cert when anybody needs it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
We appreciate it.
You guys ready?
Moving on down to resolutions. We have a couple of stuff in order. So I'd like to read those.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the self-new owner, Line I Real Estate Holdings LLC, index number 03-31-104-00.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Rader.
Make a motion that we approve the self-new owner Sheila Armstrong, parcel 13-013-31.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe. Jim Rader.
Yeah.
We have a board appointment for Devil's Kitchen Water District. Both of these members, Evan Buffington and Liz Kalaha. I'm sorry, I butchered that. I'm not sure how to say her last name. Ms. Kala. They're being reappointed. Do we have a motion to approve this?
Move to accept resolution number 23-572, appointing members.
I'll second it. And that's also to start, May 1st. Or it's set to expire May 1st, 2028.
Yeah.
Commencing of today's date.
Commencing today. Right.
I second this motion.
Okay, roll call please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Jim Raisik.
Either of you have any old business you'd like to talk about? Anything for ARPA or budgeting, anything else?
Just one little note. One of the entities that applied, we talked about this at a prior board meeting. The gentleman that dealt with mental issues and
We have a couple of them.
yeah. Anyway, I know that the board at the time was not on these activities. But just as an update, I reached out to them because I think this is an area where several people can help out through our funding through certainly. And so it's neat, I'm sure that we're going to help with several ways where it's really reconfiguring what they do. And so we're going to come up much like with a contract grant process that much like what we have with the ARPA. So we can reach out to a few of the other organizations who will put it out there. They will classify them, categorize them, and they will make that decision. And they'll be funded through. So just a little update. Tim. It's fine. It's a
Yeah, that's the. I've been to, yeah. I do have a little bit of news for White Ash as pertaining to ARPA. The pumps, the electronics are all in. SCU is in the process of completing that. And I think it's time I had a conversation with EPA last week. I think it's time that we move forward with disassociating the county with this. And I think it's time for that. I believe we need to have a public meeting up there. I think we need to call residents in all those things. And I think we need to tell them what's going to happen.
I think so. Because I see big calls. Past couple weeks, I've gotten calls about things are important. Not since he's completed them.
Well, he hasn't completed them yet, but he's very, I think it's going to be very close.
But he's got all the equipment.
As far as I'm led to believe that all the equipment they've been waiting on to complete is now final. Electronics, pumps, everything. So,
Okay, question then. I do believe we need to go ahead and let's figure out how we're going to reach these people. And two, where we're going to meet to have this. We want to meet at one place in White Ash, or we want to have it here at the board. And with the time that will be convenient for all our, on average, most residents.
I think we probably will reach out to a couple of people in the town and ask them what their preference would be. I mean, the idea would be to get as many people as we can. And they may be able to take an informal poll as to what they would like to do. I mean, we don't want to put up any barriers or anything.
I would say if we're gonna do that, we need to.
It's right, and I've already reached out to one of the residents up there, explaining to them, this is coming. This association, whatever we like to call it, the county,
One of the other places I thought.
keeping it up is coming to an end.
Where we could have, would be maybe at the church.
There's that church right there. Yeah.
Very close to there on the sewer district there. So,
So we're very close to this. So it's coming.
Who should be added to the list of people that are sources of information? Do we need the EPA there? Will the EPA attend? We reach out to Pittsburgh and Johnston City to see if they would send representatives to answer questions. Quite honestly, I don't believe we can answer all of the questions that will come up.
Oh, I agree completely with that. I think the nuts and bolts is, I think we need to have a meeting to determine what that's going to construction.
and I would also think that we would need our state's attorney as well.
We're going to need some legal there.
You know, I would like to see within a month, have that meeting. It's not waste a lot of time.
So there are a couple ways to get those. I've asked Stephanie to reach out to Pittsburgh to get a list of development questions. But that may not catch everybody. We can look at parcels and get information from them about the big data in that district. Because eventually it's going to, I believe it's going to have to be done on an hour. If they start the sewer district, they'll have to be voted on. And so we need to get those people effective.
If they need to put this on the ballot, what would be the latest? Or what's the process? Don't they have to get signatures?
They
first?
probably have to get signatures because they don't have a board, but I'd have to look into it and see.
And then that, once they get enough signatures, so we can figure out how many signatures they would need. And that would be a referendum to put on the ballot and voted on, right, by the residents of White Ash. And I think that we need.
No, our next election is primary in March.
Right, and that would be it. And then they would still have to go back. I guess we can, that could be a board that would be appointed to, and members wouldn't be elected, or something like that.
Well, I would imagine the first.
Many of them, the first board is appointed.
And so, the Lake Region Board District is, they're elected to that.
And then they could make their own bylaws. That's where states are.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that it's responsible.
I don't think we want to schedule the meeting until repairs are absolute.
That's kind of what we're waiting on.
But
And we're
Quickly
here.
after.
We're here. Right. I think the end is within sight, which is why I'm kind of pushing.
and we can also reach out to them to get the word out.
Right. Does anybody have anything else? All right. There's a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
Roll call.
Tim Atkinson?
Yes.
Jim Marlowe?
Yes.
Jim Racer?
thank you very much.
One step closer.
These additional sheets for the county, do you want me to give those to put them in Stephanie's office? In case anybody.
Yeah.